just hugging that fence as close as you can. Go ahead and, machete out, whatever, you can walk silently right through there. And right on the peak of this ridge, have a stand, and you can either hunt this trail, because they're gonna move through here, or make another hidey-hole food plot like we just did. With the stand location over there, any kind of cooling air, like late in the afternoon when deer are moving, is gonna rush down to the ravine. And these are tough, because when it's warm, probably early afternoon, your scent's rising, and that's good. And about the time you're thinking, boy, about time for buck to become, hunting's getting good, you probably feel the wind swirl a little bit, and it's gonna start rushing down. This would be such much better hunting if this was just up on the ridgetop 100 yards up there. So, because when you're on a side hill, the wind wants to swirl a bunch. Or if all the pines were gone, think about water in a concrete channel in LA or something. I mean, it just goes one way, right? But if you've got rocks and bends, the water has eddies, and you've seen it go cross stream or, circling out there. Well, that's the same way with air movement through trees. So when air's coming through all those pretty pines, when it's coming through there, it's going this way and that way, and I'm sure you felt it swirl out that stand if you've hunted there. So these side hill food plots, boy, they're just tough. And every now and then they work, because for 30 minutes, whatever, the wind stays constant and the deer can get to you. But I call it making a scent cone. In these areas where the wind swirls, you almost make a cone, and deer just can't get to you, right? They're coming, all of a sudden they hit that magnetic field, i.e. our scent, and it bounces off, it repels. So we'll probably throughout the day work on getting our food plots on a ridge top or a valley, so one way or the other we're good. Sure. Not side hills. And I wouldn't abandon this. I would just notice very few conditions this is going to hunt well. You can't compete with the neighbor that's got, 40 acres, 100 acres of beans, right? I mean, he's professionally fertilized, and he's doing this to make a living. Right. He's growing big deer for you. You just need to attract deer in the winter, which is half the work. Makes your job easier. Now, I don't like letting my food plots just be weeds all summer, because I'm getting a weed seed base. We'll talk about that strategy a little later, but
so would you leave a buffer then?
Yes, definitely. Probably a little bit more than this, but I'm learning now, and then I'll set out the map, but I would leave a buffer, definitely, for two reasons. Just visual, right? And two, you're probably gonna be able to catch deer moving through that buffer. We design buffers not only as a visual buffer, but as a bottleneck for deer to move. Sure. I always like for everything we do to have many purposes, be more efficient that way. Native browse, this is a great point right here. This is a great thing, because we're 20 yards from soybeans, something like that, maybe 25 at the most. And I mean, again, professionally farmed, trying to make a profit, and here we are, native vegetation, nothing, I'm sure, no fertilizer, nothing, right? And look at the intense browse on here. And there's obviously a mineral or something deer are seeking besides the quality of the browse. So this is just an example. And another beautiful thing, if you look up right here, we got a little hole where sun's coming through. Sunlight and photosynthesis is the magic to food. And so if we do some TSI in various parts of your timber, we can get this and get these species which need sun, versus where we had shade tolerant species under the pines. Shade tolerant species rarely are as palatable as these what are called early species, or they need sun, right? They're early succession species, full sun. So this is a great testimony right here to what your property needs. Unfortunately, if you don't recognize this is multiflora rose. It's an invasive exotic. Deer eating it because they're hungry. I mean, they eat most roses, but that thing will make little berries that birds will eat and poop all over, and that stuff spreads like crazy. So I try to limit the amount of multiflora rose on my property, just because it can take over. Very few stands are good from sun up till 10 a.m. because in that period, wind's going to shift, typically. And that's why deer are crepuscular, or move primarily early morning, dawn and dusk, because you think about it, it's cold all night, the wind's steady, the thermals are going in one direction. And the sun starts coming up and warming up, and it's warming up the top more than the bottom, and you get all these wind eddies doing this. Well, that's when it's most secure for deer to move, because they're getting 360 protection off their nose, not their ears or eyes, right? And then you get, 9:30, 10 a.m., And all of a sudden the wind has now decided, okay, I'm warm or I'm cold and I'm going one direction until this afternoon. Well, deer lost half their protection and they bed down. So that's why that time of day favors a deer. It's not nothing to do with vision or it's too light for their eyes. That's not what it is about. It's just security. And then when it gets really cold and food is scarce, they move more throughout the day because they're hungry, right? And you're saying, hey, I'm throwing a little caution to the wind here, I'm hungry. I need calories to stay warm, especially where we are. So they move more. And they throw caution to the wind and they get predated on heavy. You know, this is very personal choices. But if it was me, it's just me, and I had this property of this shape and this size, and I saw a nice 3-year-old, I'd be pulling the trigger. I'd be flipping an arrow. That's a really nice animal for this. I tell people, and there's always outstanding circumstances, but on average, across the board, from the Rocky Mountains to the East Coast, if you can average harvesting a mature buck every 200 acres, one per year every 200 acres. Now, there's all kind of variables, right? You're in the middle of Illinois and there's not a tree for 10 miles, different direction. But here, if you could average a mature buck every 200 acres a year, you're doing good. So I think your advantage is, you're in a travel corridor, you're gonna have almost the only food post-harvest. Your odds are much better. But you could have some long seasons set. I'm not saying it won't happen, but you could have a lot of long seasons and get discontented just waiting on a 4-year-old. There's nothing wrong with taking a good 3-year-old, any 3-year-old at all. So that's a personal choice. And if you said, Grant, I'm planting my flag on 4, I'll help you do that. Just realize that you may go some seasons without pulling your bow back on antlers.
Which I'm okay with. I've done it for 2 years.
Okay. And some people are, you know, I get doe fever. I love shooting doe. My family eats a lot of venison. It's great quality meat. I shoot does and pass up bucks like crazy. But that's not for everyone. Right. So anyway.
I fill the freezer with antlerless and
yeah.
I'm perfectly happy with it. So.
Yeah, great. I think the key to this side of the property anyway, this wing of it, so to speak, is food up on the ridge and this hidey-ho. And the hidey-ho deer are obviously traveling here anyway. It's just to slow them down right in front of your bow stick. That's the purpose of this hidey-ho. It's not feeding deer at all. It's just a hunting location. It's a true hidey-ho food plot. And when the wind's not right, you got to stay out of here because you're just booger this trail up, which is feeding in those larger feeding plots we're going to have over there. So if you don't kill it here, it's okay because you'll probably see it again over there. I like this. I'm agree with you. I'm saying I'd stay out of any lower elevation. The wind's gonna swirl like crazy. You just can't leave that as a sanctuary. It serves a purpose. People think, oh, I can't hunt that land, it's wasted. That's not true. You want a sanctuary area, and you've got a good one. It serves a purpose.